Hey, it's SickBoy from the Gaminganarchist Collective, and you may be asking yourself, where the fuck have you been? Well, I've been ill the last few weeks, plus with the Christmas break, it's meant that I haven't been able to make anything for a few weeks now, but I'm now back, new year, feeling refreshed and invigorated and ready to go. So, let's get the Anarchic Eye for the 6th of January 2014 underway. Well, I'm sure this won't surprise a number of you, but Sony have just announced on their blog that they are shutting down online support for a number of PlayStation 3 titles. Because, fuck it, the PlayStation 4's been out in some markets for now all of 6 weeks. Best start tearing apart people's libraries. So, if, for example, now this has been aware for a while, but I'm going to reiterate, if you were a player of MAG, that is the massive online multiplayer game, shooter, that's being shut down the 28th of this month, as are the SOCOM titles. They've said obviously there's still the online, however only one of the SOCOM titles actually has an offline mode, and they've announced some new games that are going to be part of that. On the 20th of May this year, they'll be shutting down Gran Turismo 5's online. So that will be gone, you'll still have the single player game, online mode, gone. Also, on the 28th, all 3 Resistance games are being pulled from the Sony servers. Now, Resistance 2 has still got a certain degree of popularity amongst gamers. It is still a solid co-op experience. And unfortunately, this is the risk of online gaming. This is why the pay the cleared is not a good idea. This is why constantly persistent online gaming without a solid offline component is a poor investment of your money. So the price should reflect that, because lo and behold, a couple of weeks into a new console being launched, the previous first-party titles are being decommissioned. Expect to see the Uncharted titles following very soon. Oh, I've got some bad news for Hitman fans. It appears that the next-gen Hitman title that was being developed by Eidos Montreal has been canned. So, for those of you who are big fans of the older games of the series and could tolerate, or even if you absolutely hated Absolution, because a lot of people did, I could get enjoyment out of it, but I can totally see why people didn't like it. As you can see, I have my Agent 47 over there. Now, it sucks on a lot of levels, because I would have liked to have seen a lot of improvements in the Absolution game. It could have actually made a decent title. Unfortunately, they have scrapped it, and they are going to be porting Hitman to iOS and Android. So, I'm sorry guys, everyone who's a fan of the Hitman series, you're about to see your series get absolutely shat on, and not see the sort of investment that you would like to see one of the what was originally one of the premier strategic stealth assassination titles, one of the few really, but it's a superb title. Hitman Blood Money for me is still one of the greatest games of the PlayStation 2 generation, and I include it as part of that. I don't care it was in this generation, it was originally released on the PlayStation 2 and also in the Xbox 360, so I consider it a PlayStation 2 genre game. Those Hitman titles in that series, around the original Hitman games, superb titles. Absolutely gutted to see Square Enix push this really rich Eidos Legacy title and shove it into the iOS market. Thanks a lot, fuck bunches. Hello Resident Evil fans, just to let you know, you're too old for Capcom. They, in their investor relations with regards to the Resident Evil series, have published a discussion on the series and have stated that people who play Resident Evil are generally too old. They're in their late 30s and 40s, wherever the fuck they came up with that idea. Please let me know if you're a fan of the Resident Evil series, if you are anywhere near 40. Okay? Capcom, just so you're aware, I think you should go and fuck yourselves, you pretentious bunch of cock-sucking bitch hammers. Pardon me for not giving you enough fucking money, Capcom. Just make sure that you team up with fashion brands in order to sell your title to the kids. Because I tell you what, horror titles, they're not in though, are they? They're not in, even though they are in. And that, in fact, all the fucking kids are playing horror games. Because you live in a fucking fantasy land, Capcom. Live in a fantasy land where kids are not interested in horror games. Really? Do you want to tell me just exactly how successful has Slender been amongst your teenage demographic that you're looking for? How about Outlast? How about Amnesia: The Dark Descent? How about we not talk about A Machine for Pigs because it's shit? But the point stands. Horror is a major thing. It is coming back in a big way. The fact that Evil Within is coming out because you couldn't be fucked to make a horror game. That is the whole reason that game exists. Because you don't understand your market. Oh, guess what? I missed one. I've got a copy of Code Veronica on the Dreamcast there that I've just noticed behind the camera. Fuck you, Capcom. Don't be so fucking patronising to the people who have funded your arse. Stupid, stupid fucking PR. Because you put that out to your investors and you, funnily enough, public website. I've got the link directly to your little presentation. It wasn't hard to find. You fucking dumbasses. You absolutely live in a fantasy land where horror is not marketable and the kids aren't interested in it. Really. Really. Now, maybe this is where you've got your calculations wrong, because I was significantly younger than what you're considering the core of Resident Evil base are. I was far too young to have played Resident Evil. It used to scare the shit out of me. Resident Evil 1, the moment where the zombie first stands up and turns around, used to scare me shitless. The dogs jumping through the window at the beginning scared me shitless. That title was scary. Not as scary as Silent Hill 2 was, but it was scary. And I have, as you can see, I have every main storyline canon title. There are a couple of handheld ones that I haven't got, but in general, I've got the vast majority of every major Resident Evil title ever brought out. Do I look like I'm anywhere near close to giving up gaming? Fuck nugget. No. Nor are your fan base. And sending out messages like this to your investors just tells us, the older gamers with a sense of understanding of business, that you don't want our business. Well, fuck you. Right, well, sticking with Resident Evil, people who have a Japanese version of Resident Evil Outbreak File 2, for my money, one of the greatest co-op horror games ever. Fantastic online survival game. Brilliant, so underrated, such an underrated title. And this has been resurrected by a forum led by the user called The Fog, and if you have a Japanese version of the game, only Japanese mind, the middleware in the NTSC and PAL versions are not compatible. But if you have that title, you can go online, you can now play the title again. I'm glad to see that, because Capcom clearly haven't got a fucking care or a clue about what they should be doing in order to support their customers. So, sorry, is the user base too old, Capcom? Guess what? They're coming along and doing things out of your hands and taking money out of your pockets. Maybe you could consider making a File 3, or just reboot the franchise and make a co-op horror. It's not like there aren't many co-op 4-player horror titles, I don't know, Left 4 Dead, say, that aren't doing spectacularly well. You know, the series that you kind of brought about. Jesus Christ, Capcom. And finally, this news is a few days old, but I wanted to share it for those who aren't aware. It appears that the license between Marvel and Activision has lapsed, which now means that you cannot buy a digital copy of any Marvel licensed game made by Activision, and that is pretty much all of them. You can still buy the discs, they haven't withdrawn those from sale, but they've clearly lost that license. Now, I do have a copy of Deadpool that I picked up in the Steam sale, and I did check because my version was uninstalled. You can still install the title, so if you buy it, if you own it, if you already owned it, you can still have it. It seems they haven't actually removed the installation files from the Steam servers, but that's as maybe. This is again a risk of all-out digital gaming. You think about that there's an inexhaustible supply of a title, you think it'll last forevermore. However, try online now to try and find a key or a download for a legal download for a official Marvel licensed game made by Activision. And that's all of them. They've been making Marvel games for absolutely years. And no longer about. Now, at the same time, Capcom also pulled Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Same thing happened to Marvel vs. Capcom 2, it was pulled because the license expired and they yanked the lot. So if you're interested in playing Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 online, tough shit's been pulled. If you want to buy any of the Activision Marvel games, you can't, I'm afraid. They've been pulled. It's a shitty dick move, and unfortunately, I can't really see Activision to blame here. It's his poor contracting. I would have said that they should have allowed the license of a title to be held in perpetuity. That if you hold the license, if, say, High Moon Studios, through Activision, were given the license to sell Deadpool, that title should have a license that they could continue to sell Deadpool. They shouldn't really be allowed within their contract to pull that. However, that's down to Activision and Marvel. Activision clearly did not have a strong enough position to do that, because that would have been a better way of doing things. But as it stands, we all get shafted. Anyway, guys, you've been looking through the 2020 vision of the Anarchic Eye. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll catch you guys later.